Hello, my name is Liz. Welcome to Fabric Friday. I am doing the flying geese blocks. I have here a 9.5-inch square. I'm using different colours for them, but this is what I've got here at the sewing machine now. They're 9.5 inches square. I also have these 5.25 inch squares with a line drawn down the middle, and this is all I now do to them. As you place your small square so that the line hits that corner, and you just put your needle so it's 1/4 inch away from that line, because we'll be sewing on both sides. Get more or less halfway, and then I add another one. You can put them both on and pin them, but I'm not a big pinner, because when you get this far corner together, the line will be carrying on from one piece of fabric to the next. Turn it around. Now, I didn't do this, I chain pieced an awful lot of them, but you can do it however you want. And that is sewn down both sides of the line that you've got there, and you can see on the back they're there. We now take it to the cutting table. You can either use scissors or your rotary cutter and cut down the centre. So as you can see, both sides of the line, and there's the 2 rows of stitching. It may be difficult for you to see, but it isn't difficult for me. Now I need my long ruler for this centre. Go along your line that takes you corner to corner and slice. And then they need pressing. So let's do another one, that I am in the process of making as well. Now I brought you over that's it. I brought you over to where my ironing pad is. I've got this wool mat as well, but you lay, can you see, you lay the half of the square down, and you can see when you peel them back, you've got a funny looking thing, a bit like a heart. Get your iron, and I like to lightly press it. I'm not digging into it or anything like that, it's just lightly pressing it. Here's the other one. and I will lightly press that. So I'll get on and do these and then take it back to the sewing machine. Right, so these funny shaped things are here now, and what I like to do is I turn them so that the pointy end, what will be the flying geese part of it, is at the top. Feeds through your machine a lot better. Lay on one of those squares with a line on it, and then start. Either side of the line again. Now, as I've said before, I like to chain piece wherever I can. So that's now at its end. Plus this is the one square that we started off with. So we put the line square there again, and sew. Quarter of an inch between, quarter of an inch away from your line. I've just lifted my presser foot then and turned it all around so I can go back down quarter of an inch away from the line. Get my other one level out so I don't accidentally sew things down. And there they are, chain pieced together. Don't need them together anymore, but obviously this saves you a bit of thread and the ends and everything. But we will take them now again to the cutting mat. There, the two, you can see my lines of stitching. And get a ruler, go from one corner to the other corner of the 5 1/4 inch block that you just, 5 1/4 inch square that you just put on it. Now sometimes your blade might not always go through, so what I do is just check like that and take it to your iron and fold it in back like that, and you have now got a flying geese block. So I'll do that again. So there we have the square that you've just put on. Can you see alright? Yep. Line your roller up corner to corner along the line that you drew. So check that it's separated and it hasn't gone all the way through. So you can just do that and it will go all the way through. Turn it over, flick that back and take it to your iron and press it. So there, now it's pressed. I'll do it with this clear ruler. It's a bit bigger and not the one I normally use because we need to trim it. Now if you look along you've got obviously your inch line and your 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, 3/4, and then the inch line. So I put the just over the 3/4 of an inch, no, just over 1/4 of an inch past my very top. And we could actually go a little bit further. That's it. This allows you to, when you sew them together, you're going to have a point all the time and it won't get cut off. So trim that down. If you've got a rotating mat, which I have, you can use that, but I find it easier like this. Now we want the blocks 4.5 inches wide, so we find the 4.5 inch mark down here, because we know this is a straight line, we've just trimmed it. Hold your ruler down and trim. So that's exactly 4.5 inches wide. Now we want it 8.5 inches. Well, half of 8.5 is 4.25. So we find the 1, 2, 3, 4.25 line. Put it at the very tip of your triangle, and then one of the straighter lines, you can check that it's straight with the top or the bottom, whichever you want, and then just trim that little bit at the side. And as you can see, it only is a little bit. Turn it around, do the same again. Find your 1, 2, 3, 4.25 line on your point. Level your ruler up. And then trim. And as I said, it's basically just like little bits and the dog ear, and that's now exactly the size that we want. 4.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and you can see out of that 9.5 inch square and the 4 contrasting colours, the background at 5.25 inches, that's all the waste. You get off one of them and you make 4 of these, so it's very economical on fabric. Now these are for the Flying Geese blocks. Now I have worked out for the quilt you need to make 68 of these blocks, and as you make 4 out of one of the squares, that's 17 squares. You will need to make some more, but they'll be for cornerstones. So for the Flying Geese blocks, it's 68. So you want 68 of these, which is 17 of the 9.5 inch squares, and I can't think. I'll put in the bottom how many squares there is, because it's 4 squares for each one, so it's probably about 68, something like that. So spent a lot of time doing them, and I will be honest with you, I have had enough of Flying Geese box. So until next week, bye.